I spent $30,000 on my sister's wedding only to discover a day before that her groom was my worst enemy. They say money can't buy happiness, but trust me, it can buy front row seats to a dumpster fire with your name on it. I'm Michael, 32, IT guy from Seattle. I work from home, live alone, and thought my biggest headache was fixing broken code while keeping my cat from knocking over my coffee. Yeah, life had other plans. After getting burned by people I trusted, long story, think betrayal with a side of heartbreak, I built walls thicker than a Costco bulk order. My world? Coding marathons, grabbing coffee from 7-Eleven, and yelling at refs during Seahawks games. My social life was mostly chats with the barista who knew my order by heart. Not thrilling, but hey, no drama. Then came Jess. She's the human equivalent of a TikTok trend, always buzzing with energy. She'd throw a party for her neighbor's hamster if given the chance. So, when she invited me to a family dinner, my first instinct was to pass. But Jess? She could sell snow to Alaskans. Next thing I knew, I was ironing a shirt and regretting my life choices. Dinner was exactly what I expected. Mom pushing kale salad at me with that look. Maybe eat fewer burgers. Dad asking if I'd ever consider a real office job. And my aunt telling me about her friend's daughter, who was also single. Poor thing. Meanwhile, my cat was probably having the time of his life knocking things off shelves at home. Then Jess stood up, eyes sparkling like she just scored Taylor Swift tickets. She announced she was getting married. The room exploded with cheers. Mom cried like it was a season finale of This Is Us, and Dad, well, he nodded proudly between bites of steak. I was genuinely happy for her, until she turned to me with that smile. You know, the one that usually comes with, so, funny story, she sweetly dropped the bomb. Michael, you'll help with the wedding, right? Like, cover the costs? I almost choked on my iced tea. Cover the costs? 30 grand for a venue, overpriced flowers, and a DJ who'd play Sweet Caroline until my ears bled. My bank account flinched, but instead of saying no, my mouth betrayed me. I smirked. Sure, Jess. 30 grand? Pocket change. Dripping sarcasm. But guess what? They all missed it. I thought I was being a good brother. What could go wrong? Turns out everything. That check didn't just pay for a wedding. It paid for my front row seat to a disaster I never saw coming. If I thought writing a check for 30 grand was the worst part, I was about to be proven very, very wrong. A few days later, Jess called me. Normally, she'd dive into wedding talk like it was an Olympic sport, but this time, she sounded off. Not my floors canceled off, more like I accidentally adopted 3 cats off. Every time I brought up her fiancé, she dodged harder than me when someone suggests hiking on a weekend. I casually asked, so, how's your fiancé handling all the wedding chaos? Suddenly, she had to check on something in the oven. Jess doesn't cook. Ever. That was red flag number 1. We met up at this cafe downtown. The kind with Edison bulbs, waiters who look like extras from an indie movie, and coffee prices that made me question my life choices. Jess rolled in with this binder thicker than a Cheesecake Factory menu. She slapped it on the table like it owed her money. Inside, a wedding budget that could rival the GDP of a small island nation. Venue deposits bigger than my monthly rent, floral arrangements that sounded fancier than my entire wardrobe, a live band that probably toured with Beyoncé, and catering so luxurious I felt underdressed just reading the menu. Jess forced a smile, flipping through the pages like she was auctioning off my sanity. Nothing too crazy, right? I chuckled, trying to lighten the mood. Totally. All I need is a lottery win or to sell a kidney. No biggie. It was a joke. She laughed, but it felt like when your boss laughs at your joke and you're not sure if you're getting fired or promoted. Something felt off. Jess, my sister who once planned a surprise birthday party in 48 hours with nothing but a Pinterest board and sheer willpower, was now acting jittery over wedding plans? Suspicious. But hey, weddings are stressful, right? Flowers, food, and family drama. It's like a reality show waiting to happen. I convinced myself she was just overwhelmed. I mean, who wouldn't be? Planning a wedding is like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while blindfolded. But deep down, something didn't sit right. Jess wasn't the type to crack under pressure. She could host a Super Bowl party, break up a fight over nachos, and still make sure everyone left with leftovers. So, why did this wedding have her acting like she was auditioning for a true crime documentary? I told myself it was just wedding nerves. Big day, big expectations. What else could it be? Turns out, I had no idea how deep the rabbit hole went. And this was just the first crack in the perfect picture she was trying to paint. A week passed, and I was almost convincing myself that Jess's weird behavior was just wedding stress. Almost. Then she sent me a photo of her fiancé. At first glance, he looked like every other guy in Seattle who owned too many flannel shirts and thought IPA was a personality trait. But those eyes, something about them punched me in the gut. Familiar, but in a way that made my stomach twist. Like hearing an old song and knowing every lyric, but not remembering where you heard it. I stared at the photo for so long my coffee went cold. Where did I know him from? College? Nah. My college days were a blur of late-night coding, instant ramen, and praying my laptop wouldn't crash. Work? Doubtful. My co-workers were mostly tech geeks who debated which Marvel movie was scientifically accurate. Maybe a bar? I wasn't exactly a social butterfly, but I wasn't living under a rock either. The more I thought about it, the more it gnawed at me. I even did the ultimate shameful deep dive, scrolling through my old Facebook albums. Yes, the ones where I thought cargo shorts and puka shell necklaces were peak fashion. Nothing. Not a single clue. Frustrated, I switched to Instagram, half hoping to find him tagged at some party. Nada. Just a bunch of throwbacks to bad haircuts and questionable life choices. I felt like one of those true crime podcasters, connecting dots that didn't exist. So, I asked Jess casually, "Where'd you meet him?" She barely looked up from her phone, muttered something about a bar or a party, then changed the subject faster than my internet loads when I actually needed to buffer. Jess wasn't exactly subtle. In high school, she once faked being sick to skip gym class, and then posted beach pics the same day. Smooth, right? So yeah, her nervous brush-off set off alarm bells. I spiraled into full detective mode. Old texts, emails, LinkedIn stalking. If there was a platform, I was on it. Even asked a couple of friends from back in the day, hoping someone might recognize him. Zip, zero, each dead, and made it worse. It felt like trying to remember a dream that fades the second you wake up. Jess acted like she was hiding a lottery ticket or a body in her closet every time I brought him up. And those eyes, they stared back at me like a puzzle missing one piece. I kept telling myself it was just wedding nerves. But deep down I knew this wasn't a wedding jitters thing. This was a something seriously wrong thing. And all I could think was, who is he, and why do I feel like I'm about to regret finding out? Nights alone with nothing but a laptop and insomnia can lead you down some strange rabbit holes. That night, my mind wouldn't shut off. I kept thinking about Jess's fiancé and those damn eyes. Familiar, but frustratingly out of reach. So, I did what any sane person would do. I started digging through old photos. My external hard drive was like a digital time capsule. Blurry party pics, regrettable hairstyles, and fashion choices that made me question my sanity. Hoodies 2 sizes too big. Cargo shorts I thought were cool, and enough red cups to sponsor a frat house. I was about to give up when I found a folder labeled College Days. Inside were shots from house parties where cheap beer flowed like water. Someone always passed out in the bathtub, and Domino's pizza boxes doubled as plates. And then there it was, a photo from 8 years ago. Me, grinning like an idiot, holding a red Solo cup. Next to me, my then best friend Tom, flashing that cocky smile I used to find charming. And standing between us, the girl I thought I'd spend forever with, before Tom decided best friend also meant guy who steals your girlfriend. My stomach twisted into a knot that not even Tums could fix. Back then, Tom and I were inseparable. Xbox marathons, road trips with zero planning, and late-night taco runs. Until he stabbed me in the back harder than a bad steak knife. But as I stared at the photo, something clicked. Tom looked different now. Beard, expensive haircut, tailored suit instead of his old graphic tees, and worn-out Vans. He had transformed from the guy who thought microwaving ramen was cooking into someone who probably had a skincare routine. But the eyes? Cold, calculating, manipulative. Those eyes hadn't changed. I felt the blood drain from my face. Jess's fiancé wasn't some random guy. It was Tom. I leaned back in my chair, my cat giving me that judgmental "you good, bro" look from the corner. This had to be a joke, right? Tom? Marrying my sister? The same Tom who ghosted me after tearing my life apart. My hands shook as I slammed my laptop shut. This wasn't just awkward family drama. This was a nightmare dressed in wedding invitations. And I was footing the bill. My heart pounded louder than my upstairs neighbor's late-night TV marathons. Tom. Jess. The betrayal felt like déjà vu with extra salt in the wound. I needed answers. I grabbed my phone, thumb hovering over Jess's contact. My cat flicked his tail, like even he knew this call was about to be a disaster. Before I could overthink it, I hit dial. Jess picked up on the second ring. Her usual chirpy "Hey, Mike" wasn't there. Silence stretched longer than a Monday morning meeting where the coffee machine was broken. Finally, I blurted out, "Did you know? Did you know it was Tom?" The silence cracked. A shaky breath. Then I knew. My stomach dropped faster than my Wi-Fi during a storm. She knew. Her voice trembled. It was years ago. People change. I didn't think it mattered. My laugh was bitter. People change? Sure. And cats do taxes. I paced my tiny living room, my half-eaten takeout forgotten on the coffee table. My mind flashed back to all those nights spent coding my way to a better paycheck, saving every extra dollar. And for what? To fund the wedding of the year, starring my least favorite person on the planet. She continued, words tumbling out. I needed your help, Mike. I needed the money. I thought if you knew it was him, you'd say no. I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. Twice. My own sister used me. 30 grand wasn't pocket change. It was my savings, my late-night coding marathons, my skip vacations to finally pay off student loans. I wanted to yell, throw my phone, something, but all I managed was, "So, you lied." For money, Jess whispered. I didn't want to hurt you. I wanted the perfect wedding. Perfect? Perfectly insane. This wasn't a sitcom where everything wraps up neatly in 30 minutes. My mind raced. Tom, the guy who shattered my trust, was about to marry Jess, who just shattered it again. I sank onto my couch, my cat hopping up beside me like, "Bro, you okay?" She pleaded softly, "Please, Mike, don't ruin this." My head spun. My sister, my best friend turned enemy, 30 grand, and a wedding that suddenly felt like a ticking time bomb. What the hell was I supposed to do now? Forgiveness? Yeah, not in this lifetime. After Jess's betrayal and Tom's history, I couldn't just sit back and play the good brother. Sleep? Gone. My brain replayed everything like a bad reality show marathon. By morning, I knew one thing. Staying quiet wasn't an option. The rehearsal dinner was at one of those overpriced downtown spots where even water costs more than my Spotify subscription. Obviously, I wasn't invited, but that never stopped me before. I threw on a clean shirt, gave my cat a nod like, hold down the fort, and headed out. Walking in felt like crashing a wedding scene from a rom-com, except way less cute. Soft jazz played, glasses clinked, and there was Jess laughing way too hard at one of Tom's jokes. My stomach twisted. But I wasn't there to sip cocktails. Tom saw me first. His smile froze like his brain just blue-screened. Perfect. Michael? His voice cracked as he set down his overpriced drink. What are you doing here? I leaned against a chair like I owned the place and shot him a grin. Oh, just thought I'd swing by. You know, before you wreck another life. Jess's face drained of color faster than my phone battery on 1%. She rushed over, hissing, "Please, Mike, not here." I smirked. "Chill, Jess. This is just a trailer." Tom's awkward chuckle filled the room. "Hey, man, no need to make a scene." "A scene?" "Oh, buddy, this was just the opening act." People started whispering behind half-empty wine glasses. Jess grabbed my arm like I was about to flip a table. But walking away, not happening. Not this time. The tension in the room could have cut through my grandmother's Thanksgiving turkey. My heart was pounding, but my face? Stone cold. I wasn't here to play nice. I grabbed the mic from the DJ, who looked like he regretted ever taking this gig. Glasses clinked. Whispers rippled through the crowd. I cleared my throat, flashing the fakest smile I could muster. "Let's raise a glass," I began, "to the groom, Tom. A guy who really knows how to stab a friend in the back with style." The room froze. Tom's face turned redder than the cheap wine on the table. Jess's eyes widened, silently begging me to stop. Spoiler alert, I wasn't stopping. Murmurs filled the room. "What's going on? Is this part of the speech?" One older guy chuckled, thinking it was some edgy humor. Bless his heart. Tom shot up from his chair, but Jess grabbed his arm. She whispered something to him, probably begging him not to flip the table. I kept going. "Tom, man, it's impressive. You traded your worn-out sneakers for $2,000 suits and swapped cheap beer for overpriced cocktails. But tell me, do you still use the same cheap tricks you pulled 8 years ago? Or is the new beard supposed to hide that too?" A few people laughed, thinking it was some inside joke. Poor souls. Tom's smile twitched. He was trying to keep it together, but I could see it. The panic, the guilt, the "oh crap he knows" realization. Jess leaned toward me, whispering, "Mike, please, stop." I locked eyes with Tom. The room faded away. It was just me and him now. "Remember when you said betraying a friend is fair game if the reward is worth it? Guess what, Tom? You haven't changed." The silence was deafening. Tom's eyes darted around, looking for an escape. But there wasn't one. Not tonight. I glanced at the dessert table, noticing the tiny cupcakes that probably cost more than my entire grocery bill. Typical. Weddings and overpriced everything. A waiter nervously refilled someone's champagne, clearly wishing he'd called in sick. Tom's best man looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. Someone's aunt, probably 3 glasses in, whispered loudly, "This is better than cable." I almost laughed. Almost. But this wasn't for laughs. This was for every sleepless night I spent wondering why my best friend betrayed me. Jess's knuckles turned white from gripping Tom's hand. My sister, the one person I thought would never lie to me, had teamed up with the guy who wrecked my life. I felt my chest tighten, but I pushed through. I leaned on the mic stand, letting the weight of my words settle over the room. The worst part, this was just the beginning. Tom stood there, trying to flash his signature grin, but it wobbled harder than a Jenga tower on the last block. He cleared his throat, raising his hands like a guy trying to calm down a hangry toddler. "Michael, man, that was years ago. We're adults now. Let's not do this here," he said, voice dripping with forced calm, like a cable company rep when you threaten to cancel your plan. The crowd, already hooked like this was a live reality TV finale, leaned in closer. A waiter, holding a tray of overpriced shrimp skewers, slowly backed away like he wanted zero part in this. I chuckled under my breath, giving Tom a slow nod. Exactly. And adults tell the truth, right? Jess buried her face in her hands, shoulders shaking harder than my car when I skipped an oil change. Someone whispered loudly, "Wait, what truth?" Another guest mumbled, "I should have brought popcorn." Tom's eyes darted around faster than me, trying to find my keys when I'm late. His best man stared at his plate, like it held the answers to life. Jess was now crying like someone who realized their Amazon cart wasn't on sale anymore. I grinned, but it wasn't the friendly kind. "Oh, nothing much. Just that our beloved Groom here dated my girlfriend behind my back, while we were still together. And now he's marrying my sister. Small world, huh?" The gasp that followed, loud enough to set off car alarms outside. Tom froze like someone hit the pause button. Jess's sobs turned into sharp gasps. One aunt clutched her pearls so tight I thought they'd snap. Tom opened his mouth, probably to serve up a well-seasoned excuse, but nothing came out. I leaned back, taking it all in. Karma? She finally RSVP'd. And this time, I wasn't the one left holding the broken pieces. Tom stood frozen like someone just unplugged his brain, then bolted for the exit like a contestant on a game show. Chairs scraped, whispers turned into full-blown gossip, and Jess, still wobbling in those sky-high heels that screamed fashion over function, ran after him. I stayed put. Not my circus, not my monkeys. Near the entrance, Tom's voice, loud enough for half the room to catch, cut through the murmurs. "How can I marry you when your brother hates me? This will always be between us." Classic Tom. Always the victim, never the problem. Jess begged him to stay, mascara running down her cheeks like a bad soap opera. Guests stared, pretending not to stare. One waiter whispered to another, "I better get a bonus for this shift." Jess's parents scrambled to salvage the night, offering tight smiles and pushing more champagne, like it was liquid amnesia. "More bubbly? Don't mind if I do," muttered one guy who was clearly just there for the open bar. I leaned against a pillar, sipping my now-warm soda, watching the chaos like it was primetime TV. Jess eventually walked back in. Tears streaked across her face, eyes sharp enough to cut glass. "You ruined everything," she hissed. I gave her a tired shrug. "No, Jess. I saved you from a lifetime with a guy who couldn't even fake loyalty." Months passed. Life went on. One chilly afternoon, I sat in my Ford F-150 at the Starbucks drive-thru, sipping a coffee so sweet it could cause a cavity on contact. My phone buzzed. A message from Jess. "Maybe you were right. Tom's already dating someone else." Guess I dodged a bullet. I snorted, but left her on read. 30 grand down the drain, but hey, consider tuition for Life Lessons 101. Later, I posted on Facebook. Sometimes the best wedding gift is the truth, even if it maxes out your credit card. The comments came in fast. "Bro, you're a legend." I chuckled, finishing my coffee. Yeah, at least I got one thing right.